Good afternoon, and welcome again to the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago Speaks. Today, we had this whole thing planned is that we were going to talk about the economy. The economy of Trinidad and Tobago is the lifeblood of our country. It's the economy of Trinidad and Tobago that allows us to embark on all those wonderful plans that we have been talking about. And so we felt that this episode was going to be about how do you diversify the economy, how do you gain additional funding to augment the decline in prices of oil and gas. But I decided not today. Today we need to talk about where we are. This is episode 7. 7 episodes of the Democratic Party Speaks on Gayelle, the station. And this program is also on YouTube. So we felt that by the time we get to episode 7, that this wonderful and exciting news about the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago and what our plans are, we felt that by the time we get here, everyone will be talking about this refreshing, all these refreshing ideas for the management and governance of Trinidad and Tobago. We felt that perhaps among the young people they'll be tweeting and they're sending their WhatsApp and whatever, all those things, and saying, "Have you heard about the Democratic Party? Do you?" I felt that at this time, the media would be calling and asking for interviews and saying, "Alvarez, what is your plan?" All the things they want to ask about you. But the reality is, episode 7, and I think on YouTube we might have 100 and something, or maybe close to 200 views, if so much. The fact is, something is not happening that ought to be happening. And we need to talk about this. The Democratic Party, when we started this program, it was never our intention, and it will never be the intention of anyone in the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago to attempt to hoodwink the people, to not be honest, to not speak our truth clearly. And therefore, in so doing, we have to establish among ourselves what truth is and where we are. Are we getting there? Is the message coming through? So let's deal with some questions that I've had asked to me over the last 3 or 4 weeks that the DPTT has started its 2015 campaign. People have asked, and looking at the DPTT Speaks, they say, "Alvarez, why is there a song about God in the beginning of your program? It seems very Christian, and it seems that you've made a terrible mistake there, because you're trying to give a political solution to the management of Trinidad and Tobago, but yet you seem to be taking a sort of Christian outlook. There's a church, there is you in a church. Why don't you stay away from that?" And I thought about it, and I say, it makes good political sense to not even go there, to just simply talk about the Democratic Party and to talk about our policies. But as I said, we have always decided, when we started this program, when we started the campaign for the DPTT Speaks, to be honest with you. And so we know that without any illusion, without trying to delude ourselves, without trying to fool ourselves, we know that for the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago to win the next general election, for that to happen, it would take a miracle. And that miracle, ladies and gentlemen, would come from some spiritual intervention. And so, who am I? As political leader, I have asked in my own way for God to guide me. For God to say to me, "You know what? You've done your best. And that is why the Democratic Party's show have started with me in church saying, "Dear God, I will go if you lead me." And that's all it is about. It's not trying to convert anyone to Christianity. It's not talking about your religion. It's talking about me and my honesty and sincerity and my recognizing the reality that for the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago to win, to rescue Trinidad from where we are, it would take a spiritual intervention. And that's why that song, we chose that song that says, "I will go, Lord, if you lead me, I will hold your people in my hands." You see, I'll tell you what has happened to our country. This week, my secretary called me one morning and said, I'm going to be a bit late to work today. And I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, they shot someone and they left the body on the road. And I don't know why they just didn't pick up the body, because it's there now and everybody's just passing and they block off the road and all that." And I said to myself, when did we get there? When did we get to the point where a body on the road is like another dog? Why don't they move it? Why don't they let people pass? There's no outcry, no pain of another human being lying on the side of the road in a puddle of blood. That feeling was not there. Because every day we pick up the newspaper and we read about 3 or 4 murders. And then the politicians say, "Oh, you know what? The murder count is down. It's only 3 this week or 2 this week." And we're saying, when did we get there? I have children, and my kids are afraid to go out in the evening to the park alone because they are unsure that they can come home safely. I have neighbors who are afraid to go on long vacations because they're not sure if when they come back what their valuables will be in their homes. When did we get there? When did we get to the point where mothers are having to go through a traumatic experience? What should be a most wonderful experience in terms of making a baby and bringing new life into the world. These mothers are having a traumatic experience to the point where they're calling for security in the hospitals. When did we get there? And how can I sit down and be comfortable discussing policies and talking about other political parties and talking about your option if we're not at least being honest with each other? And so this evening I said, you know what? Let's pause for a while. Let's not talk about the economy. Let's talk about Trinidad and Tobago. Are you happy? Are you happy with where we are? Are we happy with the posturing, the magnanimous spending of mega projects? When we know that if someone is sick, there's a very likely possibility that when they get to the hospital, they cannot get a bed. There's a very likely possibility that they cannot access drugs. Come on, are we happy? Are we contented? How do we sit back and talk about voting for one of the 2 political parties that exist and not consider a third option? No. Of course it would take us a miracle. Of course it must take a miracle, a spiritual intervention for us to change, for something to happen that to make us say, you know what? The Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago is a viable option. So we are at this point in our nation's development where we have to ask some serious questions of ourselves. You see, a lot of people are asking me, Alvarez, is this a one-man party? Who are the people around you? Who are the financiers? And I ask myself, you know, if this is a one-man party, if it is that Steve Alvarez is the only person that represents the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago, if Steve Alvarez is the only person that's seeking solutions for our country, if Steve Alvarez is the only person that's talking about how do we improve the quality of life for all our citizens, then we're in a sad, sad state. I want to believe that it's more than me. There are members of the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago. There are a few people, not a lot of people. We don't have a lot of members. But you see, a lot of members don't win an election. There are political parties with over 100,000 members. There are some political parties with 20,000 members. There are some political parties with 1,000 members. To win an election, ladies and gentlemen, you need over or just about 300,000 people. And those are the people that I am talking to tonight. Those are the people that we are trying to reach out. Not to 20,000, not to 500. Unless all of these people come together for the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago, I can tell you, as sure as the sun rises on the morning, I can tell you that unless we do that, our country is going to be in big trouble. We have had the last 40 years to look at. Think of this. The average person's salary, the average public servant salary, is between $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Yet, in the parliament, you have lawmakers passing a law that say if you are caught with a beer in your car, you're going to be fined $5,000. And if you look at the laws that you see going along the road, there's a lot of punitive measures. In other words, we're becoming like a police state where you want to rein in the citizens. They want a commission of inquiry into the police to find out why there was a day of policing without even questioning, is there something wrong in the police service? Are they dissatisfied? Why are they not motivated? Is their salary adequate? Are they appropriately, are they given the appropriate equipment to perform their job properly? No, that's not important. We'll pull them in, we'll wrap them up. Ladies and gentlemen, everywhere you turn in this country, everywhere you turn, it's like the government is they're taking punitive measures against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And we are simply sitting down and saying, okay, no bail for this and no bail for that. I say, okay, because we have gotten to a point where things are so bad that we will accept any solution, give up our rights, just for a little peace. In the meantime, billions of dollars are being spent. People are getting rich overnight. Companies that I remember, there's a company, and of course I don't have cutouts, clothes, and I don't have money to pay lawyers, so I can't call names. But I know of a company that a few years ago was struggling to get a subcontract from my company, that today could buy my company at 5 more in 3 years. So people are getting rich. Lots and lots of money is being spent in our nation. But our children can't go to school safely. Our population are tied up in traffic for hours. The people in Port of Spain and Beetham are subject to smog and smoke. We're in a mess, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a mess. But the politicians will tell you it's okay. Things are nice. Lots of people, there are young people who are taping the show tonight, who are thinking of what is their future going to be like. And they're wondering, what is the point of going to school and getting a degree when whether I get a job or not depends on my race or whether I'm affiliated with the right political organization. Has nothing to do with merit. That's what we are saying. That's what we're telling our youth. And then we want to know why is it that they're looking to make a quick buck. Because we have not put systems in place to give our children the sort of confidence that they ought to have in the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So the Democratic Party is saying to you that these are issues that we have to deal with. We cannot continue to go down the same road. We cannot have villages and towns without fire stations. We cannot have a situation where when someone see a crime going on, they call the police and they say, I can't respond at this time. The bandits cannot continue to have all that power over our lives. It cannot happen. It must not happen. How could this change? How can we change all of these negatives in our society? I tell you what, it cannot change if you continue doing the same thing you've done over all the years. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. And let me repeat that. To get something you never had, you have to do something that you never did. And that something that you never did is vote for a third party like the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you want a new nation, if you want to see agriculture structured and planned, if you want to see your economy revive, if you want to be able to walk safely again, if you want to see your schools clean and your cafeterias going on, if you want to see new roads and highways, and if you want to see a train system, if you want a better Trinidad and Tobago, you have to do something you never did. And that is to vote for the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago. Forget the old talk. Forget whether it's Alvarez alone. It's a sad thing if it's Alvarez alone. It has to be Alvarez and you. So if it's me and you alone, then me and you alone is what it would take to change this. Please, for your children's sake, for your family's sake, for Trinidad and Tobago's sake, for racial unity, for harmony in our country, for peace, for prosperity, for strategic planning for generations to come, please think about what you're about to do this 2015 general election. Think about doing something that you never did. Talk to someone. Share this video on YouTube. This should be viral. Every Trinidad and Tobago citizen, whether you live in Trinidad or abroad, should be sharing this and say, listen man, we have to wake up. We cannot say, I am PNM till I dead, or I am UNC till I die. You cannot do that because you will die and your family will die in hopelessness. I tell you something. If you told anyone in the world 2 years before Barack Obama was president of the United States, if you told anyone in the world that the United States of America was going to elect an African American president for the first time, they would say, oh, we're not saying it can't happen, but not now. We're not ready. But it happened. It happened because the people were about to do something they never did. And a lot of people felt, you know what? Perhaps it was a mistake and he can't win a second term. But what did they do? They consolidated and they voted Barack Obama for a second term, to show the world that they have passed that stage. We in Trinidad and Tobago have to pass the stage of PNM UNC. We have to pass the stage of saying that this place is Indian African and Indian time and African time now. We have to pass that stage. And the only option, look around you, listen to the political parties that are presenting themselves, listen to what they're saying, and you would know in your heart that the only option is the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago. Because no other political party have been coming to you with the little that they have and saying this is the policy for agriculture, this is the policy for tourism, this is the policy to deal with crime. No other political parties have been doing that. Instead, you're hearing the same old, same old. So, we've paused tonight to talk to you. To talk to you in a one-on-one, in your heart, and say to you, if you care about your family, you care about your country, to consider the Democratic Party of Trinidad and Tobago. That's what tonight's show is all about. Are you willing to do that? Are you ready to do that? Or are you going to continue where you are perhaps most comfortable? And I tell you something. As long as you don't, if you were to ever not vote the Democratic Party, if you were to ever continue along the path, know that as the sun rises tomorrow morning, that you would continue to hear people going to hospitals and can't find beds. You will continue to hear police complaining that they don't have vehicles. You will continue to hear a big political party and I'm talking about big development when they clean a beach. You see politicians taking the media down to the beach and say, we clean up the beach. Or you'll hear a political party saying, guess what? We build a fire station in Mayaro. Ladies and gentlemen, building a fire station in Mayaro is not an accomplishment. There should be fire stations in every village and town in Trinidad and Tobago. That's what we must have. Clean up a beach is not a big thing. Every beach in Trinidad and Tobago ought to be clean. And when you talk, how can you talk about building a causeway and making a causeway to Chaguaramas before you talk about a mass transit system to improve the congestion on roads? How can you do that? But that is what you will get if you continue to look at the parties that are presenting themselves as the major parties of Trinidad and Tobago. But worse yet, worse than all of that, if you continue down this road, you are going to continue. You are taking a deliberate step to divide our nation by race. Because you know, don't fool yourselves. Do not fool yourselves. You know, and I know, and every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago know that these political parties are race-based. You know that. Don't fool yourself. It's Indian time and African time. And if you decide to vote for these political parties, you are contributing to that division. And I make no apologies for saying that. You are contributing to destroying the fabric of our nation. So the Democratic Party is giving you that option. Get away from that. Change and vote DPTT. Join with me. Let's hold hands. Join with me in presenting a viable alternative to the parties that seek to destroy us. Until next time, this is Steve Alvarez saying, may God bless Trinidad and Tobago. Good night.
In the evening of my life I shall look to the sun.